Hello, welcome to Wed's Reading Room Owls. I do hope you're going to enjoy these books that I've chosen for you this month. The first is called Bubella and Worm to the Rescue, and this is by Jo Friedman. And the second, by Tom and Tony Bradman, is called Titanic, Death on the Water. More about that in a minute. The first book then, Bubella and Worm to the Rescue by Jo Friedman, is unique. It has unique characters, it is fantastic, it is brilliantly written. Bubella is a young giant who used to be shy and lonely, but then she meets Worm, who, as you might have guessed, is a worm, and they have adventures together. Bubella discovers that she realises that her parents have been imprisoned, and the two of them have to go on a perilous journey, on a hot air balloon voyage, to try and find her parents. They actually visit the wild jungle, they come across lots of wild jungle animals, and they also meet a dangerous magician. Now at first Bubella thinks she's going to have to go on the journey on her own without Worm. I'm going to read a little bit, this is quite near the beginning of the story. The next 2 days passed quickly. Bubella rushed around getting ready for her rescue mission. There was a lot to think about. She'd never been further than Gran's Island in a balloon. The Dabushta jungle was thousands of miles away. It would take many days to get there. Also, she'd have to fly much higher than ever before so that her balloon could catch the fast winds far above the earth. The air would be thin and it would be very cold. All this was frightening enough, but travelling without Worm was what really scared her. He was more than a friend, he was almost like a four-leaf clover. Her life had been so much better since she'd met him. She couldn't imagine what it would be like to go someplace without him. Now at that point she thinks she is going to have to travel on her own without Worm. She's been considerate to Worm, but then in fact very soon after that she realises he's able to go with her. As I say, they go on this perilous journey, lots of adventures. It is beautifully written and beautifully illustrated. Now the second book is by Tom and Tony Bradman, and this is Titanic, Death on the Water. Now Tony Bradman is an old friend of Ed's, and he has now been joined by his son. They were asked to write this story of course it's the 100 years since Titanic sank, and this Death on the Water is based on the facts, but it is a story, a fictitious story, about the characters that Tom and Tony Bradman have included in this. Now Billy has a secret. He's scared, he's really scared. He's working in the shipyard on Titanic with his father, and then his father has a tragic accident, which of course is very, very upsetting for the whole family. Billy decides that he doesn't really want to work in the shipyard any longer. What he would really like to do is get a job on Titanic, on the boat as part of the crew, and he does actually manage to do this. Of course he's very sad to say goodbye to his mum and to the rest of his family, but at this point in the story, I'm going to read a little bit, they're just sailing away from Belfast to Southampton. The sun shone down on them as they sailed out of Belfast and south through the Irish Sea. There were no passengers, and the ship had only a skeleton crew and a temporary skipper. Captain Smith would take full command in Southampton. Mr. McElroy kept the bellboys occupied, using them to run errands all over the ship so they would get to know their way around. Billy enjoyed the work, but every now and again he would stop by the handrail and gaze out at the sea and sky and the dark smudge of the Welsh or English coastline in the distance. He could hardly believe he was sailing on the most famous ship in the world, that he was actually one of the crew. The whole idea gave him so much pleasure he almost forgot to be homesick. Well, even at this point it isn't all plain sailing, as Billy has already discovered that one of the other boys on the crew is being rather unkind to him, a bit of a bully actually, so he has that to deal with, but of course that is nothing compared to what they're going to have to deal with later on. It's very exciting, it's very moving, it's beautifully written, and I just think it's a fantastic story, as I say, based on the fact, and I just can't believe how beautifully written it has been by Tom and Tony Bradman. I do hope that you're going to enjoy both these books and the fun activities I've written to accompany them.